G'day, welcome back to Bootlosophy. This is going to be a slightly weird video with a disembodied voice coming to you. My name is Tech, and I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that I'm filming on, the Wedge people of the Noongar Nation. Now, these boots are, believe it or not, brand new. I've had them about 2 weeks. I wore them at home not for a full day, for about 4 days, trying to get myself as comfortable as possible before I took them on a business trip to Katherine in the Northern Territory, where I worked with the traditional owners, the native title holders of the Katherine region. Did a workshop there, and I spent a week up there in the wet. I sort of brushed them down a little bit on the sole, but not so much here because I thought I might just show you a cleaning process, something that's new to me, and to be honest, a little bit unusual. I'm not sure how it'll work, but it was the wet there, being the rainy season, and although it was in town, there were a lot of unpaved car parks and roads and so on, so this did get scraped around a fair bit, and I'm surprised at how much it did get scraped out. But let me introduce the boots to you. These are from Hanker Boots, as in I hanker after them. They're called the Nomad boot. Hanker is out of Montreal in Canada, but these are made in India, which has a fine tradition in Goodyear welting from the 1800s and so, and in fact has a fine tradition in making shoes and boots from I think the 17th century, during the times of the British colonial administration there. The website says that this is French, I think, French oil tan pull-up leather. Now, there is not a lot of pull-up, certainly not like Chrome XL. The feel of it, the hand, I think, it's sturdy. It's a very firm leather, and it's waxy rather than oily, I think. But it is full grain leather. You can see the grain if it's not reflecting too much. It's definitely full grain leather. A little over 2 millimeters, I think. With the actual leather lining, it's about nearly 4 millimeters thick overall. So it's quite a firm feeling boot. The leather surprised me because, as you can see, it's scuffed, or at least rubbed the surface of the oil off in various areas where I kicked sort of rocks and curbs and things as I was walking through the town. Got a bit muddy, so I'll do a bit of cleaning up of the Vibram wedge sole as well. I cleaned that up so my hands weren't too dirty. So I was surprised at some of the differences in the scuffs. I don't know if you can see that with the reflecting light, but these actually got scratched, as well as the toes being scuffed, and a few scuff marks on the quarters. And the scuffing reveals a sort of yellowish, would you call that cinnamon color underneath. So I'm going to experiment with conditioning them after I clean them up. It's not like Chrome XL, if I'm using the heat of my hands, it's not really sort of energizing the oils to come back out and self-seal. So I'm going to condition these, and because it's quite a waxy, smooth leather, it's been polished, I'm going to use my go-to for smooth leathers, which is Venetian shoe cream. They're not very dirty, so I'm not going to saddle soap them, but I may use a bit of soap along the white edges to clean them up. I'm not expecting them to come up pure white again, but let's see how cleaner they can be. So, as usual, the first step is to remove the laces, and I'm going to do both boots, so this might be a longer video than I expected, but from time to time I'll just speed up the frame rate so we rush right through. You'll see that, you can see the scuffing of the tongue, can't you? You'll see that there are two slits here where the laces go through. Now, these are not original. I punched them through with a chisel, and the reason I did that is because these tongues are ungusseted, and I found almost immediately both boots tended to slip to one side. So I punched those in to thread the laces through and keep them fairly straight. So yes, as I was saying, I'm going to do both boots, so this might be a longer than expected video. But as I say, I'll just speed through the frame rate so you're not repeating things all the time. So the first thing I'm going to do is to give them a brush. I've got a cleaner brush, being a nice and soft one. And it's not very dirty, but it is quite dusty. So I'm just going to brush them through, right through the boot. I should, I suppose, put in a shoe tree to keep it stable, but look, I'm not going to bother. Most of us probably don't bother, do we? We are not the elegant Oxford. And one of the things I'm going to be careful at brushing away is the tongue, especially the fold there, to make sure there's no sand caught underneath. And the other place is just the top of the welt, to make sure any sand there is removed. Right, I'm doing it on my marble table, so I'm not too worried about dirt and dust, but what I will do, I think, is probably put a piece of paper on there for wetness and maybe polishes. So let's do that. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is to use a magic eraser. That's one of these white squishy spongy things. I'm just going to damp it a little, squeeze the water out, and see how much cleaning I can do of this wedge sole. Actually, that's already quite good. I was wondering if I had to use a little saddle soap in the water, but I don't think it's necessary really. I mean, I'm never going to get this pristine white, nor do I really want to. These boots have been used, so be it. If I can just get most of the dark stuff off, that'll do me. I think if I ever got them worse, I probably would use a bit of soap. But I think this is probably going to be fine. Look, there's a couple of things left, and I'm not going to be pristine about it and clean them off. Right, so I could use a bit of saddle soap, but I'm not going to. And I'm just now going to dry off the boots, where I may have splashed a bit of water onto the leather. And really all that is to make sure that they're reasonably dry for the next stage. I think I should probably leave them too dry in the air, but I'm not going to bother because this is supposed to be a quick video, because I'm experimenting to see how this leather actually conditions anyway. The next thing I'm going to do is just use a damp rag, like ever so slightly damp, to kind of quickly wipe the leather. I'm not going to saddle soap this because it didn't really get muddy, even though I did walk through rain. And the boots were beautifully water resistant. I didn't get a single drop inside, even though it was like, I mean, if you know monsoonal rain, it's wet. Okay, that'll do. Now, as I said, I think technically I should allow these to air dry for half an hour or so, but they're dry to the touch. So my next step is then to condition them. And the conditioner I'm going to use My go-to is Venetian leather balm, Venetian shoe cream. This is a little bottle that comes with Viberg, but it's the same as you can buy. It's important to shake it up really well because it's quite creamy and it can settle at the bottom of the bottle or jar. And I'm going to use my fingers with some very light coats, and I want to see how that restores all these cinnamon colored scuffing that's happening. And on the surface, and I know that the Venetian shoe cream is obviously still wet, on the surface it seems to have covered up those scuffs there, but very, very sparing. Let's take a look at that one. That's coloured it up all right, hasn't it? We'll see when the Venetian shoe cream dries. Now, I will have to pause for half an hour or so to let the VSC dry into a sort of hazy look before I come back and brush and buff. And you see that what I'm doing is putting a thin layer on, and off camera, if I think maybe there isn't enough, I'll put another thin layer, another thin coat of VSC on. But at the moment, I think it looks enough. And some of those scuffs appear to have gone, which I'm really pleased with. I didn't know what would happen, and I didn't predict this. That's a big scuff on the toe, so let's see what happens. The waxes seem to be replenished. So after that first coat on this boot, I mean, some of the worst bits appear to have gone. That is definitely a piece of scratched leather. So although it's gone darker, I think when it dries, when I polish and brush, they will show through, which is the character of patina, I suppose. All right, I'm just going to let these dry, and then I'll come back again, polish them up, and we'll see what they look like. So by the magic of television, that's about 20 minutes gone by. I really should leave them for about half an hour, but I think it's dry enough because I just used the Venetian shoe cream very sparingly. It has left some excess behind, which is not quite dry, but that's the whole idea of brushing and buffing them to remove that, and then to give it a little bit of a clean up and a slight shine because of the waxes in the Venetian shoe cream. The wedge sole is dry. As I've said, I've not gone back to pristine white. I just don't think it's very pretty having a pristine white wedge sole on a gradually patina-ing boot. It's, you know, this is the minimalist white sneaker principle, which I think is a bit silly. It's meant to be walked through mud, isn't it? As long as you've got the most of the main stuff through. Now I'm waffling a bit because I'm actually feeling to see if I can feel any wet bits of Venetian shoe cream, but I also wanted to show you again, let me try and position the lighting of it, that the scuffing and some of that original sort of cinnamon colored undercoat of the boot, the under color of the boot, this is an aniline finish top dyed full grain leather, so where that aniline finish has been scuffed off, it stayed scuffed off, but it's a bit darker. I don't think it's as obvious, and I quite like it. Look at that toe. I quite like it. That's how it'll develop. All right, so the next step is just to brush off the boots to get rid of the excess Venetian shoe cream and to give it that first sort of shine, if you like. It's never going to be shiny unless you apply wax polish. That's the sort of hard stuff like kiwi that we all know. But what this does is it will give it polish up. This is where I'm lazy and I'm missing the boot tree inside, or shoe tree inside, which keeps it firm as I brush, but oh well, you get the picture. And as you can see, as I'm brushing, it removes the sort of excess Venetian shoe cream that had been there, spreads the rest around. And if I did this for longer, which I should, do what I tell you, not what I do, you will see a difference in the surface look of the boot. Let's do the other one. There. Now, having brushed it, that's got most of the Venetian shoe cream off and has given it a bit more of a shine. What I'm now going to do is use a buffing cloth, which is basically a rough sort of cotton cloth, to give it a further shine and to polish the waxiness that's left on the surface. If you could feel this, you will feel that it's slightly tacky because of the wax that's on there, that while it's been brushed has left a layer on. So what this will do is remove the layer, and I should use a cleaner one, but you know, it's only for buffing. Oh, this came from Grant Stone, by the way. They send them out with every boot, which is fantastic. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of loosely hold it over my fingers and give it a good buffing. This removes the sort of waxy feeling, leaving the conditioner already soaked in to the leather to moisturize it and keep it nicely fresh and oiled and protected. Now the other one. If I was a shoe shine boy, I'd probably put it over my feet and then basically strop this cloth over the vamp, but I think that's good enough. Again, the feel is now much smoother, much waxier, knowing that having left it for 30 minutes, I left it for 20, but if you leave it for 30 minutes, that should be enough for the VSC to be absorbed into the leather. Okay, I'll put the laces on and then we'll check what they look like. So here we are, all cleaned and finished. These Hanker brand Nomad boots are all eyelets, so it took me a while to lace up both boots and I'm a little bit sweaty now. Yeah, I did this video because I had dirtied and scuffed these boots. Not dirty to the extent of needing a good saddle soaping, but certainly scuffed. And I was curious as to how this leather would react to a conditioning with Venetian shoe cream. The feel of the leather is better, but quite similar to the kind of bee leather that's used by Helm boots. To me, it's got a firmer hand, waxier, not as sort of, I don't know what the word is, spongy in the bee leathers used by Helm boots, supple as they are. You can see, I hope from in the light, those scratches there from, I think that might have been driving. They stayed, but some of these scuffs and scratches are much better, I think. The leather has darkened again. It was a much more lighter saddle tan earlier on. I'll put some photos here of the boots straight after I came back from my trip, so that you can see the original scuffs and sandiness and so on. And as you can see, this other boot had a very big scuff there. You can definitely see the scratches in this full grain leather, and the aniline dyes have definitely been scratched off there. as well as there on the toe. But you know, to be honest, I think the conditioning has done well. It's soaked them in, and the damage, the scuffing, I think has become patina. That's how patina develops overall. Okay, so I'll finish off there. I hope you liked the video. It's a bit weird, I know. Don't forget to click on the like button. And then if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And then come back and see more boot review videos. See you soon.